Hello, everyone. Welcome down the hobby hole, the hole with the hobbies in it.
And we're the Hobbies.
And
Hi there.
I'm going to have the intro. It's a weekly podcast about hobbies, interests, and fixations every Monday. I should say the day.
Oh, you should say the day.
We actually should have I don't know what the set time is going to be that we upload these, but it's every Monday. Sometimes our own, sometimes discovering new ones. I am your host, Daniel Rustage, musician, dungeon master, card game designer, and guy, man of many hobbies and interests. I'm here with my co-host and best friend, Shwabadi.
Hello, I'm Shwabadi, best dressed of the UK trio, professional rapper, and novice traveller.
Ooh, that's right. This episode is about the hobby, which is traveling. I'm sure we will do episodes in the future about specific places in terms of traveling, but this is just traveling in general, just a catch-all one. I promise we'll try and keep this one short. Last week's episode was an hour long.
Whoopsie.
Whoops. This one will be short. I promise. I promise. So, what's your number 10 video game of all time?
Okay, I think we should start this with what? Just talking about our travel experiences, right?
Travel experiences. I visited 24 countries and 25 US states.
Wow.
Which is a lot
more than me.
It's more than you. Not enough. Not as much as some people I know. I think Xiao has visited like 70 something.
I visited, I just counted because I wrote them all down, 13 countries.
13 countries.
And 5 US states.
I've just been to a lot of countries more than once.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of more countries I would like to go to. We are both from the United Kingdom, England, if you cannot tell. So traveling to Europe especially is quite easy for us, and something that we probably both did from quite a young age. How old were you the first time you traveled by yourself?
This is what I wanted to talk about, actually. I didn't travel outside the country for... I traveled around as a kid a lot. I was born in Germany.
Yeah.
British parents. We moved around between Germany and England to visit family. I lived in Northern Ireland for a bit. I've, traveled around a little bit just for that, but to actually go on a vacation abroad didn't happen until I was 15, which I don't know if that's old.
It depends.
Older than most people.
Depends, right? There is obviously a lot of privileged positions that we're in sort of.
I think a lot of people that I went to school with had been to like Spain, Mallorca, the Canaries, stuff like that. By age sort of like 11 and 12. They'd been quite young. But those are very cheap destinations to travel to for British tourists because there's always package deals and stuff. Et cetera, et cetera.
And my godmother, my mum's friend, had a house in France that we visited quite a lot when we were younger. Yeah. So I've been to France and Spain a lot as a kid. But how old were you when you first traveled independently of like parents, like by yourself?
That was when I moved to Korea. Was the first.
When you moved to Korea?
Yes, that was the first time I traveled by myself somewhere.
You were like in your 30s.
I'm in my 30s now. I was. It was 2018.
Yeah.
So I was 23.
23. I was 16 when I went abroad for the first time, and that's only on a technicality because I went to Belfast, because I was invited to a convention there. But ever since then, though, I've been traveling a lot by myself, getting into hijinks. And like we are both in quite a blessed position where the way that our jobs work is that we are able to travel. We just have to work harder, and then we're able to travel more because we are our own bosses. So we could be like we could
on that.
Do stuff, but it does mean like if I'm going away for 2 weeks, I still have to upload every other week doing music on YouTube. I just have to do more work before I leave.
Yeah.
But when I was, and so I have the capabilities to travel more now, and I take advantage of that. But when I was younger, I was still obviously in school and stuff, and I wasn't making money, but I still try to travel as much as I possibly can. And I traveled on like crazy budgets. I'm going to give you this example. I don't think I've ever told you this, because this is probably something for our crime podcast episode.
Okay.
There have been more than one occasion where I have... Should I confess the crimes? Yes, I should. I was really young. I have snuck into youth hostels and slept in the corridors of youth hostels, like in the middle of the night. Like youth hostels are already like quite cheap accommodation, but usually they're not, because they're quite cheap accommodation. They're not as well. Like a hotel tends to have a lot more. the light goes out in my hotels seem to have a lot more security, for lack of a better way.
Yeah.
Basically, what you would do is you would go in with a group of people already going in anyway. You sort of like, and you sort of blend in with the crowd, Assassin's Creed style, and then you just sleep for as much as you can. I usually slept on my bag, and then I would leave before people started waking up, just to get a few hours of sleep in on a certain night where I didn't have accommodation or something. Crazy. I was
hilarious.
like 17.
Yeah. You would do anything to travel.
I would. I just hotels are one of the more expensive things.
Yeah, for sure.
And when I went to Belfast for myself, I actually didn't pay for that flight. The convention paid for. It was the first time a convention paid for my flight, I think, and they brought me over, and that was an experience. I mean, we could delve into Belfast. I don't know if it really counts, but we can delve into what are your favorite like travel destinations and cities and such.
Yeah, I guess so. I was just going to say, most of my traveling experience in my life, even now as an adult, even though I've been to a bunch of countries and traveled to the US a bunch, most of my like holidays where I'm going somewhere has been within the UK. Me and my family, we had a caravan that was shared between like my grandma, my auntie and uncle, my parents, and my family would just use that caravan, go somewhere, and we'd camp there for a week. Caravan sites are just cool locations where you're allowed to do that. We camped in tents, we camped in caravans, and we had, a great time. That was most of like all the way up to like I was like 19 probably. Yeah, was most of my the way that I got out. So I saw a lot of England. The UK.
There's lots of really nice places in England.
And the UK is my favorite place, like to go around and travel and see things.
Interesting.
Obviously,
yeah.
Just because it's first of all the easiest for me to do.
Yeah.
The cheapest. And it's just something I really love is like the nature and the history that's available in the British Isles. But if we're talking about like going abroad, like the first thing that I think of is South Korea.
Yes.
That was my like favorite place to be as like a traveler, a visitor.
Yeah. I would sort of semi-agree. I think it's number 2 for me, but let's talk about South Korea because you worked in South Korea.
I did. I lived there for a year.
For a whole year.
I worked there at a hagwon. I was an English. I was technically not an English teacher.
Wait, what were you?
I was a language conversational coach. I can't remember the exact job title, but like they couldn't legally call me a teacher because I didn't have a Korean teaching qualification. At the time, I didn't have any teaching qualifications.
Oh, okay. So you were just the guy.
I was the guy.
He was the guy.
The hagwons hire like a bunch of native English speakers to just kind of be like, we teach from a textbook, we have our whiteboards and we teach stuff, but we're mostly there just so that the kids can hear a native speaker and so that they can like.
Which is strange that they would get you for that, because
at the time
you're gonna have a bunch of Korean kids that are gonna be like, oh, hello.
No, here's the thing. Here's what's funny is that like when I spoke to Koreans, 99% of the time I would have an American accent.
Oh, you would like
or a very Americanized sort of transatlantic British.
Give them your northern.
Yeah, because like I needed them to understand me.
Yeah,
and they were learning American English anyway. It was like the standard that we were working to.
Are you able to use Alexas?
Use what?
An Alexa.
I can use like text to speech stuff and like voice recognition. Yes.
I just wanted to make sure.
I say that. The other day when we had friends over, it was just before you came over the other day. I don't know why I'm specifying. We were on like YouTube on the TV, and you can do like voice commands for the search. I was desperately trying to get something up, and it just couldn't figure out what the fuck I was saying. I think it was I was trying to find that new League of Legends cinematic. Yeah. And I was like League of Legends cinematic, and it was just like coming up with a string of random fucking words. I was like.
That's very funny.
Ended up having to really hit the King's English.
Yeah, sorry. Oh, who invented it?
King Charles.
Okay, I have also visited South Korea more than once. I visited to visit you. So I visited South Korea back in budget Rustage era, but it was actually South Korea is where I wrote a lot of the Kakashi rap that ended up blowing up my channel. So I didn't have much money, and part of the reason I visited South Korea is because I knew I hadn't to pay for a hotel because I could just sleep at your house on the ground.
You slept on my floor on this like roll-out futon kind of thing.
So many floors during that period of my life. But once you're in South Korea, and Japan similarly, it's, as a tourist, quite affordable. Like food and stuff, because the culture of like eating out in those countries is a lot more normal. Like people eat out more often. It's just a normal thing. Well, it's in like England and America, and to eat out is like it's almost like an event unless it's fast food. You know, it costs quite a lot more money, but you can have really, really good food in Korea, and it's really, really affordable. And the public transportation's amazing as well.
It was incredible, yeah.
And I found that, like, because I did a lot of exploring whilst you were teaching. And I had quite a lot of it's great. Korea is definitely up there. It has the palaces, which are great, good public transportation, great food, but the people are really friendly, because I'd been in Japan before that, and they're a lot shyer in Japan, especially towards tourists, and from my personal experience, but they're not as shy in Korea. I had multiple people come up to me. I had one person come up to me. He goes, "Wow, where are you from?" And I say England, and he goes, "Liverpool, Manchester, Everton." He just starts naming football clubs at me. I had another old guy come up to me. He didn't ask me any questions. He just looked me in the eyes and said, "America #1." And then he pointed at himself and says, "Korea," and then spat on the ground.
Holy shit. That's so funny. I had one of the co-workers that I had at the time, Patrick, he's an American. We used to walk and we just get approached by people all the time. This one time there was this big group of like young men dressed mostly in black, pretty bulky dudes, and we were like, oh shit, what is happening? This like big group of dudes, they were sat outside of a bar and they start walking towards us like, "Hey, you, hey." He has like a very like speaks English like perfectly well, like pretty thick American accent. I was like, oh, I wonder if he is Korean or if he's American. He was Korean, he just speaks fluently. And he's like, "Hey, you, where are you from?" I was like, oh, I'm English, he's American. He's like, "You teach or something?" I'm like, yeah, we teach English. "Oh, you guys seem chill. Do you want to drink with us?" I was like, okay. Because at the time I was still kind of feeling a little threatened. We spent maybe like 4 hours with these guys, just like drinking soju and eating like food off of skewers that they'd bought at the barbecue stall next door. And like that happened several times where I was like, if this happened in the UK, I would be scared for my life. No, but in Korea, it's just like they just see you and they're like, "Hey, you look cool. Want to hang out?" I did have like the weird old man though that came up to me and Patrick while we were walking back from the gym one day and was like, "Where are you from?" And I was like, "England." And he goes, "England #1." I was like, "Oh." And then he turns to Patrick.
Is it the same guy?
There's no way. He turns to Patrick and he goes, "Where are you from?" And he goes, "America." He goes, "Oh." And he like waves his hand at me and goes, "America #1."
Oh no. It's the guy. There's this old man proclaiming.
I think there's just a lot of old Korean guys who love America.
Oh yeah,
is what it seems like to me.
Yeah.
And they don't know enough English to like talk to like a foreigner in Korea, but they know enough English to say like, "I like your country," and that's like a thing for them. Yeah. I'm like, shout out old Korean guys.
Yeah.
We like you.
We like you. I've also So we went. You said in Seoul, so I been to Seoul, but I also been to Busan, and I also went to Gyeongju. And I just want to say that in Gyeongju they have the world's oldest astronomical building confirmed. As in, there's probably older ones, but they're not. We don't know. That's the one we know. Built by Sondok. And the thing about Korea, and you'll notice this if you go, is you go to a lot of historical sites and it will say this is a recreation because the Japanese burnt it down in like the 1500s, but this wasn't burnt down. This is still standing, and I think it's either 800 AD or 800 BC. It's one of the two, and it looks like a giant pizza oven, and it's incredible. Just shout out Sondok and the
where was it?
It's in Gyeongju.
Shout out that place.
Ancient capital of the Shilla Kingdom from the Three Kingdoms period of Korea. Shout out Korean history.
Shout out Korean history.
Okay.
Hobby hole history. That's happening eventually.
So that's your favorite country is.
I think that's my favorite country I've been to is like a traveler.
I would say that my favorite country is probably still Japan. We look at us, such weeaboos. We visited other places, and there were lots of places.
I've only been to Japan for 3 days.
Yeah,
and it was really nice, but I want to spend longer there before I make any sort of judgment.
But I will say, like, I love the Netherlands. Is really high on my list as well.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I'd actually, honestly, Netherlands is up there. I've visited a lot of places in Netherlands, Rotterdam, the Hague, Utrecht, Amsterdam, all incredible places.
Yeah.
I almost got scammed in the Netherlands because I had that one. I was walking down an alleyway and this guy slammed into me with his bike, collapsed on the ground, went, "Oh, my leg is broken!" And I'm there. I'm like, "I'm so sorry." And I try and help. He's like, "No, get away from me! Ah, my leg is broken! Ah!" And then people start crowding around us, and I feel like it's a little bit over dramatic. So at one point, I start to actually like back away, and he's like, "Where are you going?" And then out from another fucking building in the alleyway, this woman comes out who looks like if you were to Google the word prostitute. I was in the red light district.
Yeah.
She wasn't clothed very much. She came out. She takes a picture of me standing over the body of this man. And then he turns around and goes, "Thanks, love." Gets back on his bike and cycles away. And I'm like, "Oh fuck! There's evidence of I've been tied to a. Oh no!" And I avoided that area for the rest of the trip, and I spent the rest of the trip like panicking that the police were going to come to my hotel and be like, "You've assaulted this old Dutch man."
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
But
you do get into some hijinks.
I do get into some hijinks. But Japan is my number one. I've been there quite a few times now, actually. I'm going there again. I've been all over. Fukuoka, Tokyo, Kyoto, Osaka, Kyushu, Kumamoto.
Wow.
But never north. I need to go to the north.
You've got Hokkaido.
Yeah.
I've been for 3 days.
Yes.
I went to Ueno and Shibuya and Akihabara.
Yeah.
In those 3 days.
It is great.
So.
But like, Japan's one of those places where it's like amazing to visit, but I would never want to live there. It's just so much that it's like it's not the place for me like socially, but it is for a tourist. It's great. Food is affordable and amazing. It's got incredible public transportation. People underestimate how good public transportation is for tourists because it helps them just get around easy. And the train system in Japan is incredible, so you can just get around and see all the stuff that you want. And I was in Japan in 2020 in right as COVID was like starting to happen. I was one of the last Europeans let into Japan, and I was going to all of these outside areas, like away from people anyway. Like I landed at 11:50, and at midnight they were stopping people from Europe entering.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and I was there, and this is before like things got proper serious. It was like the start of people doing the lockdown, but it did mean that they'd already banned people from China, and they'd already banned. There were no tourists there. And I wasn't going into cities or stuff anyway. This was definitely more of my rural trip. And I got to go to all of these temples that are usually bustling with tourists, and they were completely empty.
Silver linings, because that sounds sick.
Yeah. And I knew it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to do that.
Wow.
And then once I got home, I quarantined in my room for 2 weeks, my parents sliding me food underneath the door.
I do remember that, actually. I do remember that.
But yeah, it's incredible. It's got great things to see, great things to eat, and I recommend it to everyone to just if they have the capabilities to go and do it.
Yeah.
100%. Worst country.
Worst country.
What's your worst country to travel to visit?
Should we say it in 3?
It's not going to be in 1. America. It is. Listen.
being like, okay, when we say America's the worst country to travel to, we're not saying
it's the worst country. It's the worst.
We're not saying it's the worst country.
We're also saying it's the worst one we've been to. You know,
yeah.
I've not
been
to
every country, obviously. Yeah, I haven't been to any war zones.
Yeah,
so you know, the bar's pretty high. I go to nice places.
Yeah, and I've had good times in America.
Yeah,
and I've visited 25 states, so I've got the good repertoire of America. The reason I
Yeah.
go to America quite a lot is because obviously conventions, anime conventions, and people. I know most of our friends are American, and most of our audience is American, so we have to go there quite a lot. But there have been nice days. I enjoyed New York. There were parts of New York I really liked. But my big issue with America, I guess two things as a tourist, is just a lack of good public transportation. You have to drive 1 million miles to get anywhere.
Yeah.
And then in the areas that you don't, it's just you're gonna die. It's like downtown dangerous areas.
Yeah.
So it's really difficult, and like everything's expensive in terms of food. Like you need, like, you have a meal out and it costs, the meal already is expensive, and then you've got to tip like 30% on top of that. And so it's just, you're spending so much money on food. And I tell Americans this, and they would say like, oh, but you'll go to New York and you'll be that's where you have the good infrastructure. And like, yeah, New York has a metro and it's fine, but like, one of the things that I like about traveling is being able to walk around, and you can walk around New York, but there's still these huge fucking roads in the middle of, so all of the crowds are pressed to the side, and because it's built on this grid system, you still have to wait at stoplights every 5 minutes, so you are still in traffic but with extra steps. You're still at whims of road, even in quote unquote the most walkable city in America.
My favorite place I've been to in America, and Americans are always like, what, really, when I say this? It was Chicago.
Chicago was nice. The bits of Chicago we
like,
were in.
The center of Chicago, where it's built up, has gorgeous architecture, a lot of really good shops. A lot of the stuff is within
like a walkable distance.
Walk.
Yeah.
So it is walkable, and like it's a cool place and it's nice. But yeah, I know that if you venture anywhere outside of that, it gets a whole lot worse.
Yeah.
But my main issue with American cities that I've been to, so I've been to 7 states. I just recounted in my head.
Yes.
Besides Chicago and New York, everywhere else I've been to in America looks and feels the exact same.
Like the biome is different. That's what I felt. Like the biome is different. You're in a desert. You're in like Alpine, but like it's the same concrete fucking intersection of America, the same big block McDonald's building and gas station. And
there's a 4-lane road on either side with a giant concrete parking lot and then 5 stores built around it. And you're like, okay,
that's it.
Copy and paste that 18 times and then put some houses.
And from my experience, that's what I most. There are nice things to see in America, but they're all so spread apart and stuff, and difficult to access. Like I enjoyed my time on the Las Vegas Strip because it's walkable. I've enjoyed aspects. I did a tour down the West Coast with Megarad, if people know, and like it was a lot of fun. There were lots of fun aspects of it, but it's also some of the most harrowing times of my life. And I feel like I have to tell this story. I tell all of my friends know this story, but this is a story for the podcast. I probably also have told it on Isekai D&D, but I was on tour in a place called Gallup, New Mexico. And if you don't know where Gallup is, it's about 2 hours away from Albuquerque Drive. We were doing a big driving route all through America, so we had to perform somewhere around here. We couldn't get Albuquerque, so we did Gallup. And it's like a fucking Wild West town, Gallup. It's like population 1,000, less so. It's on Route 66, and it just has this, it's just that crazy vibe to it. And we were in the venue doing sound checks. By the way, the fucking show was terrible. Only 2 people showed up, but we were doing that.
If you're one of those 2 people, you were great.
Shout out! It was a boy and his mum. So
that's so funny.
Shout out! But like we had sold out shows, so it wasn't because of us. Surely,
yeah. It's because it was in the middle of fucking nowhere.
Yeah. So whilst we were doing sound checks, the lighting technician comes up to me and he says, "Hey, do you want to come and sign my wall? I get all the artists who perform here to sign it." And I thought, sure, because I assumed it was like a thing in the venue somewhere. He then leads me out the back door, down an alleyway, and I'm thinking, this isn't what I expected, but I don't want to be rude. I agreed to this. I'm sure it'll be okay. He then leads me into this big warehouse building where it's just like a bunch of random junk all over the place and it's really dark. And then he locks the door behind us. And I'm like, holy shit. I'm trapped in this warehouse building with this guy that I do not know. My phone is on charge in the venue. I have no way of nobody knows where I've gone, no way of contacting anyone. I think I'm gonna die in Gallup, New Mexico. But to his credit, there was a wall of signatures on the other side of the room. So I rush over, I grab my pen, and I sign it as quickly as possible. And as I'm signing it, he says to me, "Hey, you didn't say hello to Julia." And I was like, "Julia?" I turn around, I see this figure on the couch. I'm like, okay, thank God there's somebody else here. So I walk on over, and as I get closer, I realize that it's a life-sized silicone sex doll that he starts talking to like it's a real person. Like he like talks to it. He then full on slaps its breasts and asks me to like say hello and high five it. And I'm like, "Hi, Julia," because this guy's crazy and my life is entirely in his hands. Eventually, I do get let out, which is why I'm still here and alive today. But we leave a different way we came in. He has to undrill these blocks of wood from this big double door, but I don't know that. So I'm like, "Hey, can I go do my sound check now?" And he doesn't say anything. He just pulls out a drill. And I really thought he was gonna drill out my organs. I thought I was gonna die. I genuinely wept once he let me out. Like, once I was free, I cried. For real, no joke. Genuinely terrified that whole experience because I was like, I'm such an idiot. And that's
every time you tell that story, it's like it doesn't get less crazy the more I hear it. It's genuinely like I've heard it maybe like 7 times now. Yeah. It's completely fucking insane.
It's insane, and the thing is, Megaran can attest to it because he saw the sex doll later, he saw the thing later, but when he saw it, the big warehouse double doors were wide open. He wasn't locked in there. There wasn't like this like air of I'm going to die.
I don't know why he made it feel like a horror movie for you specifically.
I don't know if it was intention, but
it was just like, I'm gonna fuck this little brick up so bad.
I do still think he's genuinely like crazy. Like he was crazy.
Probably.
Yeah. But
yeah. I don't know anyone who has as crazy a time whenever they go to different countries as you.
Yeah, mostly when I'm by myself. I'm just really bad at like I'm naive and I'm bad at saying no to things, and I just get into unfortunate situations quite a lot. Right. So that's the worst country, and we've done our best country. Let's talk about airports.
Let's talk about airports. You have some very strong opinions about airports.
Do I? I do.
In so much as you have more opinions on airports than most people.
Okay, Chicago airport's terrible.
True.
A lot of American airports are not great, but Chicago airport's the worst of them all, from my experience. Flights keep getting delayed, and it's difficult to navigate and get around. The quality of the service that they provide, like just being in the airport, is really bad. It's difficult to get around. It's just always busy and bustling, and just the security lines are always really long. The passport control lines are always really long. It's just, I mean, that's the thing that kills you the most, is just like when lines are mismanaged so much that they just become like a 2-hour wait to do security. Like, you've got to have an efficient system. And so I'd say Chicago O'Hare is like one of my least favorite airports, 100%. It fails in every way for an airport. It just absolutely does.
Not to just sit and rag on America, but yeah. The worst one I went to was
the second worst was Beijing Airport. So I will say that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I didn't like that.
The worst that I went to was American, unfortunately, and it was I think it was Boston. It was somewhere up northeast, right? Yeah. I can't remember specifically where, but that one fucking sucked. But I was like so tired at the time that it was like just a big blur. But I remember like being stuck in a line for hours and hours. Yeah. Everything was super old. And
I was having a connecting flight through Chicago Airport where I was going to Madison, Wisconsin, and the flight got cancelled because they didn't have enough people on the plane. And I was like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Tell me that ahead of time. And then they were like, okay, don't worry, we're going to book you onto the next flight. Wait, the next flight is the following day. They book my mom and brother on the next flight the following day, but there isn't enough space on that flight for me, so they fly me to Milwaukee. That's a different city. But they're like, that's good enough. So they changed they didn't consult me. They just said, okay, but you're going to go to Milwaukee. It's in the same state. But I still had to like...
That's insane.
I still had to get like an hour and a half like drive, or was it like 2 hours? It was a long drive after that to go from Milwaukee to Madison. Yeah, that was one of my first experiences with the O'Hare Airport.
That's hilarious.
Which is not great.
So
and
insane.
actually, I honestly think I got off lucky because my mom and my brother, they weren't provide hotel or anything. Like it was like the following day, but like 4 a.m. flight. So they were just like they had to wait 9 hours just in the airport. My brother drew the same picture of Santa Claus like over and over and over again. He went insane. Best hilarious. Airport though.
Best airport I've been to is Schiphol in Amsterdam.
Yeah, I've not actually been to that airport.
It's massive.
Yeah, but it's
and
well connected.
There's a lot of stuff in it. And it's like really new. It's really nice. I missed a flight in Amsterdam on the way back from Amsterdam.
Yeah, when we went together.
Totally my fault.
Yeah,
I missed my flight back, and I had to spend the night at the airport. And I was like, checking out hostels and stuff. I didn't have a lot of money. I was like, how the fuck am I supposed to afford a hotel for the night? I don't know what I'm going to do. Schiphol Airport just has gigantic reclining chairs in one area.
Yeah.
So I was like, I just fell asleep on one of those, and it was like an incredible night's rest.
Yeah.
At an airport when I was stressed out of my mind.
Yeah.
And then I got up in the morning. There was a place for breakfast. There was a place for lunch. There was like, it's got everything.
Yeah.
And there was like no lines anytime.
Usually, if I go to Amsterdam, I take the train. Because you can, and from London to Amsterdam, it's a really nice train journey. One of my favorites. So I've not actually been to Amsterdam Airport. But
obviously when I went, I was going from the north of England.
Yeah. It wouldn't make sense to take a train.
Yeah.
But I've heard that it's also super connected. Like it has. But I think a minimum requirement for an airport is that the airport has a train that connects it to the center of the city that it is the airport of. Mm-hmm. Right. If Heathrow Airport is not in central London, but it has a train that goes from Heathrow to central London. Great. Lots of airports do this.
Yeah.
Not all of them. I think quite a few of the airports in Texas don't do that. You still have to drive like an hour to actually get to the fucking city that the airport says it's in. But Amsterdam not only has trains going out of it, but it has buses. It has a whole fucking interconnected web for that airport, which is really nice. Dulles Airport is the quickest I've ever... If we're saying like American airports, to say something nice, Dulles Airport, which is in DC, has the big like machines that you can... You don't have to take things out of your bags when you go through security. And if you go to Dulles Airport late at night, there's just no queue. So that's really nice when you visit DC, like we did for like MagFest. But in terms of actual best airport, for me, oh gosh, I don't want to.
Don't say Heathrow. Yeah,
that's the thing, right? I don't think I've been to an airport where I've been like, this has been amazing. Everything has, it has everything that I want.
Yeah.
But Copenhagen Airport was good. Heathrow is good. When I go, I feel like I have good. I've not had a bad Heathrow experience, but I know people who have. It's very anecdotal.
Yeah. Me.
You. And Haneda Airport in Tokyo is pretty good as well.
I had a terrible Haneda Airport time. So, but
okay.
Whatever.
Yeah, I guess all it takes is one terrible time at an airport, and you hate the airport.
Most of the time, you only go to a airport 2 times. Most people they're not going to the same airport a bunch of times, so you don't get a great opinion on it. But yeah. Anyway, enough about airports.
Yes.
I think it's time to close this episode out. We're
gonna do a draw. Oh yeah, I guess we've been doing it for 33 minutes. We said we'd be shorter.
This is gonna be a short one. Well, let's do a quick draft.
We're drafting. We didn't draft in the last episode. We're drafting this one.
We're going to draft the country that we want to go to the most. And we're going to draft the food, weather, sites, and infrastructure from 4 different countries. And that's going to make this new country that we're going to travel to. Yeah. And it's your ideal traveling country.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
Who should go first?
You go first. You always go first.
Do we start with like food?
You choose whatever.
Okay. Choose whatever?
Bag one for whatever. That's part of the ideal of the draft.
Then I'm going to choose... Gosh. I'm going to start with food, and I'm going to choose the food of Italy.
Oh,
Yeah.
you know what? So I went to Italy last year because of the Orient Express experience and all that, and then I ended up in Venice and Florence. And
check out Rustage Travels if you want to see the video about.
There'll be more stuff
Orient
up there.
Express.
Italy was very good, and it did have good food, but I also felt like it didn't have a lot of variety in its food.
Yeah.
It's very much like Italian food, and food outside of the Italian food genre aren't super, at least in the more touristy cities, aren't super well represented. But it was good, and I enjoyed pasta. I enjoyed all the different kinds of pasta. But can I tell the little story about how I was in Florence in a pizzeria, and there was an American family right near me, and they were ordering their pizzas, and a tomato and cheese pizza, like the base with nothing on it, is called a margarita in most places except for America, where they call that a cheese pizza. Yeah. And so the American guy was like, you know what, for my son, I'm just going to get a cheese pizza. And the waiter was like, are you sure? A cheese pizza? Okay. He's like, yeah, why not? Just a cheese pizza. And then the waiter leaves, comes back, and it is literally just bread and cheese. It's just baked cheese. And the guy's like, what is this? I wanted a cheese pizza. And me and my family genuinely were dying of laughter with all this happening behind us. It was incredible.
That is good.
But, okay. That's a good one.
Your turn on the draft.
My turn on the draft.
Yep.
I am going to say, for food, I know there's lots of other ones here, but I want to bag this in food. I'm going to say Korea.
That's fair. Korea was the first one I thought of, but I've had... It's a mixed bag with Korean food. Korean food is some of my favorite food ever. But I've tried things when I was in Korea where I was like, this sounds nice, I'll try it, and then I felt like I was going to die.
Oh, well, fair enough.
You know
I had such amazing food in Korea.
Yeah.
But also, like, where Korea also has very good, like, Japanese and Chinese food as well, in terms of, like, in terms of the tourist experience of that country. So I'm kind of thinking
part
about
of the reason I chose Italy is because they have a lot of food that I can eat. Because I don't eat meat.
Yes.
And Korea doesn't.
Yeah, fair enough. They have you're right.
They are big meat eaters.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. See, I was thinking of picking Korea for sights because its landscapes are incredible. It has the history, but obviously that's been taken now. So I think, Christ.
That's not a country.
No, it's not a country. I think I'm going to go sights. Switzerland.
Ooh, that's banger.
I'm a big fan of mountains.
Yeah,
big fan of mountains.
That is banger. I've not been to Switzerland. I've been through Switzerland, but I've not been to Switzerland. But yeah, that is banger. That's a good one. I'm gonna go for. I don't know why I'm also going for sites, but I just want to bag this before you steal it for something else. I'm gonna go for sites, and I'm gonna say Japan.
That's fair.
Yeah. I know that there are other aspects of Japan that are also good, but like I think there are so many. The thing about Japan is because it's so long, it has everything you would want in a holiday destination. It has incredible cities and things like that, but you go to certain areas, incredible mountains and forests. It's got great beaches and stuff in Okinawa. It's got incredible skiing and snowy plains in Hokkaido. It's got kind of everything, so it feels like cheating to have that for sites, but I'm going to say sites for Japan. And I like Japanese history. I like the castles. I like all of that. And I know my two picks so far have been Korea and Japan, but we move. I'm
gonna go weather Spain.
Yeah, that's fair.
Spain is hot, but it's not like
terrible
crazy hot.
Yeah,
it's like it can be temperate at times.
Yeah, because like
it doesn't get too extreme.
You can't visit Japan in like July or August because you'll die. Because
Japan in the middle of summer is hell. Japan in the middle of winter is
hell. Right? So like you have to visit in like autumn or spring.
Yeah,
I get that. Okay.
I'm very European right now. I have Italy, Spain, and Switzerland.
Yeah, you're making it ultimate European. And to stop that from happening, I'm going to choose infrastructure Amsterdam. Sorry, Netherlands. But yes, infrastructure Netherlands. I think it has one of the best public transportation systems in the world. It has. Good. I mean, Amsterdam itself has underground, it has overground, it has wombling free. Sorry. No, it has buses, it has trams, it has incredible biking infrastructure. You could bike anywhere in the Netherlands.
So famous for its biking infrastructure.
So my ideal country is going to have the sights of Japan, the food of Korea, and the accessibility and public infrastructure of the Netherlands.
Yeah, for infrastructure, I all the ones that I thought of have already been taken. So like Japan, Korea, Amsterdam, and I'm stuck between Germany and the UK for infrastructure because I don't know enough about different countries' infrastructure to say for certain.
See, Switzerland would have been a good one for that because I think their public transportation's free and also really good. Oh. Yeah, but that's because it's so small.
I'm gonna go for infrastructure. I'm more familiar with. I'm gonna go for the UK for infrastructure.
Wow.
It's not ideal, but I know that it is good and works.
I might be wrong about the free public transportation in Switzerland.
You might just be lying.
I might just be lying.
It's not the first time this has happened on the podcast, and we're only 4 episodes in. I
gosh, it might be. There is definitely a country in Europe that has free public transportation, and it's like a big thing.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Hey, France also had free public transportation when I went because I didn't pay. I just got on.
This is really the crime hobby hole podcast.
This is the crime. This is the crime one. The crime hobby hole.
Okay, I guess weather is just you're gonna pick any sort of temperate southern European country,
warm, but
and you've
temperate.
done Spain, so I'll do Greece.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's it. That's our ideal countries.
So what we want is people to tell us which of these hybrid countries... Oh, name your hybrid country.
My country is the sights of Japan, with the public infrastructure of the Netherlands, the food of Korea, and the weather of a nice temperate Greece, without ever getting too hot.
Yeah. Mine has the food of the culture of Italy, the temperate warm weather of Spain, the beautiful natural sights and mountains of Switzerland, and the time-tested infrastructure of the UK.
Do you know what's really funny? Your ideal country is kind of just Italy.
Possibly.
Because the Alps are also in Italy.
Yeah, that's true.
And the weather of Italy is quite similar to Spain. And also, I think their public transportation, their trains are quite similar to the UK.
I don't know anything about their public transportation.
They have like cross-city trains like we do. Like you can go from like Venice to Rome and then they probably don't have the same sort of underground system to the same extent as us. So ours is probably slightly better in that regards. But you have just made Italy.
I've made Italy. So guys, which country do you guys want to visit? Rustage land?
Or
Let
Italy.
us know, which country do you want to visit? Rustage land or Italy too?
Should we? No, we should have a fifth category. Let's do a fifth category right now.
Okay, what's the fifth category?
Which is, like, experiences. Sites is like castles. Yeah, things to do. Things like museums.
Sites is like historical and
like
natural
stuff
beauty.
to look at, but experiences, like things that actually
attractions, things to do. Okay.
Yeah, like musicals, museums, shows, like stuff like that.
Do I have to go first?
Yeah, you always go first.
Shit.
Because give you the advantage.
The United States.
Fuck! I was gonna tell you that.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing, right?
Yes.
Because they have Broadway.
If you take all of like the things that are available in the US and you bring it down to the size of a European country, you might have the most fun country to visit.
Shit! I can't believe you picked it. No.
Yes.
No. Oh.
You added this category just to bolster your own.
I did.
Backfired. All right. What's second after that?
I don't know. Second after that might even be England, to be fair. But you've picked that.
I've already picked it.
You've picked that.
Unfortunate.
Oh, I might have the hidden sleeper pick. Well, I'm just going to run through all the other countries in my head for a second. Because there's obviously great things to do, and all the countries I've already picked to represent the stuff. But let's say you're going on holiday in August, and I'm going to pick Scotland. Because they have the Edinburgh Fringe Festival.
That's hilarious.
And let me tell you, I had such a good time at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, where it's just like free comedy shows all week, like for the entire month. There's so much to do and so many fun things. Imagine a country with all the other things that I said, but also just like every day you can go see a comedian. Every day you can go see a play and musical.
Once a year for a week.
Yeah, but I'm visiting. When you are a tourist, you're not living there for a year. Yeah,
I'm just saying, like,
it's not for a week, it's for a month. It's the entire month of August. Like,
so your country's only good to visit in August? My country's a year-round attraction.
Yeah, but like, when you visit a place, you don't visit there for the entire year. Like,
yeah, but what people are scheduling? August, people are going back to school. You know, it's not a great time to travel.
I don't know. I think for it's gonna be peak time. I'm just thinking about ideal, so I'm gonna say Scotland. It is a sleeper pick.
Okay, it is a sleeper pick, but let's see what people value more.
Yeah.
The Edinburgh Fringe Festival or the entirety of the USA.
Well, here's the thing about the USA is that shit's expensive. Like, you can go see a musical, or you can go see a basketball game, but it's going to cost you $200.
It is a bit expensive.
You can go see a comedian free. And they're good. Jolly Boat?
All right, okay. Hobby Hall Edinburgh Fringe Festival.
I saw I saw Ed Gamble. He was disappointing. The rest of them were good.
That's hilarious. I thought you wanted this to be a short episode.
Yeah, it is.
Let us know which country you want to visit more, Rustage Land or Italy too. And I think we're done hobbying.
Yeah, we're done hobbying. Thank you guys for watching. Give us 5 stars and a great review.
Yeah, 5 stars.
Tell us how. Give me a compliment and Mark an insult. Or give Mark a compliment and me an insult.
You act like two kings can't coexist. Build us both up.
Look, we gotta play Crusader Kings 3 again. I really want to play Crusader Kings again. They've added a whole bunch of stuff, expansions.
What are you doing tonight?
I got work, I think.
Same, but
you got more work.
What if we play Crusader Kings instead? Thank you so much for joining us, hobbyists. We'll catch you next week. Bye.
Goodbye.